Everyone always talks about marriage like it's the ultimate relationship goal. But truth is, most people aren't even ready to be married, let alone there's some others that aren't even built for it, right? But they pursue it anyways. So before you go chasing the title of husband or wife, I want you to ask yourself these four things, right? Because if these four things are in line for what marriage requires out of them, then marriage could be the worst thing for you, if not the worst thing for you at this point in your life. The first one is, have you honestly done the inner work to heal and grow? Marriage will absolutely test any unresolved issue you bring into it, right? So if you haven't dealt with your triggers, maybe poor communication patterns, or even emotional wounds, marriage is going to expose, highlight, and put that stuff on center stage, on Front Street. It's just like what they say about money. Money doesn't change someone, it doesn't change who you are, it just magnifies who and what was already there. Marriage does exactly the same thing, if not in a bigger way. Because, see, where money can just expose to the rest of the world or other people, oh, someone's true character that's been there this whole time, or their values and reality that's there in a less direct way, because maybe they see or experience a few things that person does, but they don't have to like live with that experience. But whenever you are with someone that you're locked in arms with, right, to where you guys are, legally bound and you're committed to each other on this higher level, and you've now invested money and time and you've had weddings and all these other things, then now that is an ongoing experience that starts to really put on display a lot more than meets the eye just off of the surface of how someone's moving whenever they have a lot of money, right? It's way more intricate. So if you haven't done the work, you haven't prepared, you haven't practiced to get in this game, then by the time you get there, you're going to most likely fail miserably because you haven't prepared for the commitment you've just made. See, it's a thing where relationships will always have obstacles. No relationship is perfect. You're taking two individual human beings and bringing them together as one. You will always have problems somewhere in some way, or something is going to come up. But the level and severity of those issues, your ability to work through them, all of those, nuanced things is a byproduct of your build of self, how healed and whole you are coming into the equation, versus the less healed you are, you come in and you add more unnecessary problems or hurdles than is required, right? In a relationship that's already going to have its little small bumps and things, your differences of opinion, different beliefs and all the things, or just going through a season, being moody one day, who knows? But that stuff gets, really ramped up, and it's like putting gasoline on the fire. The less healed and prepared you are for the next journey or chapter you're trying to embark on. Love is not enough. It never is. It's absolutely the core nucleus, and it is the key component to a successful, happy relationship or happy marriage, right? But it's never going to be enough. You need the emotional maturity. You need the, emotional intelligence. You need the communication skills. You need the healed old wounds so that they don't trigger you in moments where it's actually not as deep as you're making it, to where what you see on the surface is less to, and your reaction to what you see on the surface is less to do with that situation and more about something that's unresolved within inside of you, right? You can try to love someone to pieces all you want, but if all the rest of the components that brings it full circle aren't there, you're going to fail while having love for someone. And even when we start talking about love not being enough, here's the big piece. A lot of people think that they are loving their partner truly when in their marriage because they have love for them. But more often than not, if you're not healed, healthy, and whole yourself, it almost becomes impossible to truly love your partner. Because in order to love them truly, you have to be able to embrace all of them, accept all of them, and to love them the way that they need and all the things. And it's hard to do that if you have past wounds and traumas and things that, triggers you at times or causes you to operate in a version of yourself that does not help that loving of your partner the proper way. To where you snap at them more. Maybe you're disrespectful. Maybe your ego prevents you from wanting to go and do the things that they need to love on them more. Or because of your wounds, you're so heavily subconsciously built on trying to protect those wounds and take care of them, that it blinds you to seeing how you're just being more selfish or self-centered, and you don't actually focus on what your partner needs so that they actually feel loved. Those are all components of actual love, right? So even the very idea of love being enough can only even be an idea if you are the version of yourself that can actually love someone truly the right way. Second piece, do you value commitment over convenience? As we were just saying, marriage isn't just about love, right? It's also about, in those non-loving moments, right? It's about choosing your partner over and over again through the toughest of seasons. That's real commitment. That's really being committed to someone. What's it say? What's it go? Through thick or thin, better or worse, and so forth. That's what that means. And a lot of people have not built themselves to be able to actually do that. They like the idea of marriage and all the wedding bells and all the, perfect life and the kids and the home white picket fence and everything that sounds great and amazing. And then when they think about the reality and the future they want with their partner, like all of us do naturally, right? You envision something beautiful and amazing and just so harmonious and happy and everything else. You're not thinking about the rough times. Yeah, you're aware consciously that you're going to experience that, but you don't know it because you haven't experienced it yet until you're in it. And now that's what it really tests what you're built on to actually make this work. So if you're someone who actually fights through discomfort and seeks resolutions, and you don't just dip when things get difficult, marriage might actually be for you. Now, notice I said fight through discomfort and seek resolution. Because see, a lot of people out there in current marriages right now that are miserable and they won't leave. So they keep sticking around and they're telling themselves they're fighting through the discomfort because they're still there. And maybe some part of that's accurate. They keep trying to be resilient against all the obstacles you guys are facing, but they're not simultaneously seeking resolutions. They're just going through the battle and keep battling and hoping to get a change at some point, but they're not actively and proactively seeking the peace, the problem solve. How do we get rid of this so it doesn't come back? A lot of people aren't doing that because a lot of the times, in order to truly find a resolution, it requires you to change. It requires you to admit your wrongdoing and to, make adjustments as well as your partner. And that's a hard thing to do. Change is a real big difficulty for a lot of us because when you change, you're changing your identity. And we are pre-wired to operate in accordance to our identity and try to protect that identity because it makes us feel good to be who we are for the most part. So whenever you seek resolution, you're seeking whatever that means. And a lot of times it means you have to make adjustments because it takes two to tango. It's never just one person is the sole source of the issues in the relationship. We all play a role. And so building new patterns and new habits isn't a comfortable process. So if you avoid the tough conversations and the tough things that must happen to bring about the peace and so forth, and you more so bounce when things get tough, whether it's physically or even mentally you check out or even emotionally, to where at the end of the day, you steer clear of the things that will actually get you the resolves in your marriage, then marriage may not be for you. Third, are you actually wired for monogamy? Or are you just culturally conditioned? So many people out there are trying to function in the framework of monogamy, but everything in them screams polyamory or non-traditional, right? Because they grew up and their mom and their dad told them that's what it was supposed to be, or that's what their peers do, or that's what society just says when you look on TV, and it's wrong to do anything outside of the monogamous framework, right? But literally, they don't resonate with it. But they try to fit themselves into that skin, fitting that square peg in that round hole. And they keep going, trying to force a situation, and their relationships don't work out so well, or it fails often, or all sorts of things happens because they're trying to align with something that they don't internally align with. So if you value exclusivity, emotional depth with one person, and loyalty, then marriage might be perfect, right up your alley. Then it just becomes, what's the other areas of you that you need to work on if you're having obstacles with marriage or whatever the case is? Are you okay with fully committing, right? Do you have commitment issues and all that stuff? Maybe that's the thing that's in question now. But if you find yourself seeking freedom, secrecy, or variety, and not because you're immature, but by nature, then marriage is not for you. That's not your lane, or at least a monogamous marriage, right? See, here's the other thing too. Different strokes, different folks. Whatever works for you in your marriage works for you and your partner. But majority of folks out there aren't coming into the equation with someone they meet speaking in a polyamorous way towards marriage with this person. They're coming in speaking in a monogamous way, but they really value more of a polyamorous type of experience, or at least something non-traditional, right? Now, yes, there's a lot of people out there that are in polyamorous relationships, but the mass majority is a monogamous framework. But in that monogamous framework, a lot of marriages are struggling or failing for a multitude of reasons. And a lot of times it's because one or two of the people in there don't realize that they actually value something more non-traditional, and they've been trying to fit themselves into this framework. And since they haven't done that self-reflective work and aren't being honest with themselves and aren't willing to embrace their truth, it starts turning into things like cheating. It starts turning into things like them never ever being fully satisfied with their partner, and their partner doesn't know what to do in order to make them happy. They're like always stuck. It's a catch-22, as I'm never enough feeling starts happening because that person is not being clear and understanding themselves first and being honest with themselves and leading in their truth, no matter what the repercussion is. Maybe that means that marriage needs to end because your partner is just not someone that can do polyamory or non-traditional. That doesn't work for them. Hey, and that's okay. And that's a big step to take and a big reality check to have. But a lot of times that's the sole source. It's a lot of the issues. When you'll see a lot of these married couples going to get counseling and coaching and things like that to work through these problems. But the core problem is that this person is with you and they're in the wrong dynamic with you. They're not built for what you both committed to. So you have to know yourself beyond expectations of culture, religion, or family. Because at the end of the day, the only one that has to live your life and in your shoes is you. And we have such a small amount of time on this planet in the grand scheme of things. So you better spend as much of it as you can being as happy as you can, living a lifestyle that you actually want to live, not the lifestyle that's been pushed or conditioned on you. And the fourth one is, do you actually want marriage, not just what it represents? See, there's a lot of people out there getting married for very superficial reasons, because it's what you're supposed to do. It's what everyone else is said to do. So therefore, I don't want to be the oddball out, or I'm the weird one, or I'm broken if I don't get married, right? That kind of talk. Or some people want to go do it because they feel they want to look the part. They love the optics of it. It's not about the marriage itself. It's about what it kind of symbolizes to society about them, right? It looks good on paper, right? This, false sense of identity. Or the worst one, I feel, in the equation is the false sense of security. A lot of people are chasing marriage because they want to feel validated, like I'm going to have someone, I won't be alone, or, I've made it and I'm not going to be out here that forever single person, or if they marry me, they won't be able to leave me easily. If you married me, then you're not going to go anywhere. I can finally rest and feel reassured that I can trust that you're going to stay and you won't abandon me, right? Really unhealthy reasons in there, to where you're not really valuing the marriage in the partnership. You're valuing the sense of reassurance and security that the guise of marriage seemingly provides. When if we see anything out here time and time again, that fails often, right? That's how you wind up in a situation where the husband or wife cheats, or, is checked out of the marriage, emotionally withdrawn, or what have you. Or they, stop caring at some point, or, they wind up leaving, walking away. And then you wind up facing divorce anyways, because you were hedging your bets on circumstance and the commitment on paper and, the false sense of security that can bring, versus actually trying to build a long lasting partnership and companionship. It's just like going to want to get a job. So many people feel so safe in their jobs, right? Instead of maybe doing something like being an entrepreneur and going on that journey. That's too scary. That's too risky. But yet your company, most likely that you work for, can at any point in time come to you and decide that you're not valuable anymore and cut you that day right there on the spot. And all that security you thought you had has gone right out the window, right? But yet we convince ourselves, because I've been here for this many years, I've done this type of work and I've done the job well, and I'm tenured and all that stuff. I'm good to go. I can rest easy than those other people out there that are taking all this big risks until it's your number that comes up. So if you actually want the process of marriage, not just a picture of it, and you're ready to show up day in and day out for that marriage, then marriage may actually be for you. If you're on your relationship journey and you're trying to figure out what's truly right for you, and if marriage is that actual goal you should be shooting for, or if you're shooting for it for the right reasons to make sure you can be successful in it once you get to the point of being able to have it, then email or DM me the word coaching and we will get the work, as long as you're truly ready to put that work in. If you're not ready for one-on-one coaching, don't have the time, space, or maybe even resources, then at least email or DM me the word revival to join my Relationship Revival Hub community, where you can learn the same things I teach my clients one-on-one at your own pace, on your own time. Either way, do something to get in the race. Let's get it.